Good day, everyone. I'm Anna Svenskaya and I'm broadcasting from Washington, D.C. suburb. Welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's Classical Music Channel. We're connecting musicians and audience in real-time performances and music news now from around the globe. Our mission is to empower musicians of all walks of life with new tools, enrich everyone with new thinking, expand horizons of what's possible, what can work, what can be a source of joy and success for a modern performing artist. Today we're continuing to introduce Sound Espressivo Global Competition. This is the next program in our series introducing fantastic international panel of judges of the competition. We want to bring these people closer to you so that you learn their musical background, their aspirations, their success stories, and their mission. And today I'm very happy and proud to invite to our studio a fantastic guitarist, Pierre Beaudry. Pierre, it's a great pleasure to have you on our program.
Hello, Anna. It's a real pleasure for me too.
Yeah, and you're coming from Canada, right? Today?
Yeah, I live in Quebec, about 1 hour north of Montreal. But I've been living a long time in Europe, in Germany and France.
Yes, you're an international touring artist, and I know you work for an academy in Switzerland now. I thought you were already in Switzerland.
No, I'm not moving. I'm going to work online. So
it's a remote.
The academy is physical and virtual at the same time. It's a new academy. So, for example, my students, they can come from anywhere around the world. They don't have to move to Switzerland to take lessons with me. That's the way it works. For example, my first students is from Ukraine. And then the other ones. It's really a wonderful concept. And so actually I can live where I want.
That's wonderful. And I understand you're somewhere in the mountains right now.
Exactly, in the Laurentians, in Saint-Agathe-des-Monts. It's very cold here. There's already snow everywhere. It's -5. But I like the cold. And this is Nordic climate. I like it. I prefer that than much more than Northern Europe. Always gray and depressive weather. And so I prefer to have sun and cold.
That's one of the new ways musicians can really connect. We can extend our expertise and teach students from anywhere and at the same time be in the environment which we choose. But I think the best way to introduce the musician is by actually witnessing this fantastic guitarist's performance. Let's watch. What a wonderful recording, Pierre.
Thank you.
Transported me into a different world with all those fantastic colors of the voices. I'm a pianist, so for me, the distinction of colors in the voices is essential for playing Bach, and I didn't know one can do it on the guitar.
Yeah, actually, you can do it on any instrument, and violin, and you just have to know how to do it, to learn how to do it. And for example, the left hand is to make a Baroque figurines for the left hand. It takes 1 year to get used to the technique because it's so different than other ways of making fingerings.
Yeah, well, and I want to jump into our topics right away, and because we have some fundamental topics in there which you brought, and I'm very grateful because these are really not basics, but the fundamentals of thinking. And one of them is from Baroque to Romantic performance practice. I think this is essential for musicians to really understand how this developed and what the specifics are, and I'm so looking forward to hear you speak on that. Please.
Okay. Actually, performance practice is what you need to make a sound reproduction of what is written. And the more you go back in time, the greater the gap is between what's written and what's heard. And there was a stop. The music wasn't played before the 1900, 1800, I mean, the music wasn't played. So people lost the tradition of knowing how to play, which is not the case for Romantic music, because there was a tradition of playing it and there was no stop. So the problem is not to make a museum copy of representation of what it should be. It's just to understand what was used at the time. And for us guitarists, lutists, we have tablatures. And tablatures are the representation of where you put the fingers on the fingerboard. And so and this is with absolute proof. This is not an opinion. You know exactly where the lute players and guitar players were putting the fingers on the fingerboard. So it's very important because, for example, in Baroque music, you must give more importance of the harmonic aspect more than the melodical. For example, if you play a romantic melody, it's the one-string concept of purity and going on and down. But Baroque is exactly the opposite. You put your fingers and you let the notes sound on each other, and then the creativity is about which fingers you're going to leave and which ones you're going not to leave. For example, if you have a half a tone, it's not so good to let it sound, the two notes sound, because it's a dissonance and it sounds terrible.
That's right.
And also, sorry, yeah?
Yeah, so Pierre, just one quick question as we go through this, which since I have this question, I am assuming the audience might. So those are the tips you're talking about, which were probably commonplace. Musicians just knew it by learning, by being in that environment in the Baroque period of music, right? So they just knew it, and we kind of lost because of that gap. We lost that tradition. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because it's not true to say there's no performance indication, but they are less than in the Romantic period. So you have to sort of decipher all of that and to understand, like for example, what I was talking about, putting the fingers to enhance the harmonic steps. And what's really nice when you learn about all these things is the same thing with classical period. And of course Renaissance, I skipped the Renaissance because it's too much. But of course Renaissance is back in time, and then it's even more complicated to really make a connection. And usually when people study performance practice, they start with Baroque, and then they go in classical, and it can go to Romantical, and I'll tell later about what it is about in the Romantical period. And so this information about where to put the fingers is crucial, because it's totally different than the way you do it after. In the classical period, of course, when you get in the Romantical, it's really like on the violin, and you go up and down the string. The people sometimes they have to understand that on the guitar, if you take the first string, the E, you can play it in 5 places. So, of course, the E bass, well, it's only there, and you cannot play it in another place. So then, sometimes it's hard to understand that the fingers, they can play in different places, and also the combination you can make. And about performance practice, like this part is going back to the manuscripts. Sometimes there are some huge mistakes, and we've seen the manuscripts from Bach. Of course, when I play the piece, that's what I use as a basis and then I made my own edition actually of the Bach Blues Suites. I'm not the only ones. A lot of people are doing it because they're so tired of mistakes, and also.
Now let me ask you this: the mistakes, are those mistakes coming from later publishers, or some are just careless mistakes by Bach himself?
No, very few mistakes by Bach, and then they put it in brackets in the techniques of editions. And like what I use is like it's called a urtext. It's the original. I mean, they make a copy really of the manuscript, and they don't change anything. And then when there are some things that could be considered like mistakes, they write it. And then so it's one way of this type of edition started with performance practice. And then when you go you see, if I play Giuliani Concerto, I did the same thing. I took the manuscripts and then I correct all the articulations, because articulation is one of the most important things. How do you, where you make the accent, and if you do some slurs, on guitar slurs on the violin, is you keep, you don't do this with so this is very important, and articulation is about making some notes coming out and some less. And for example, I use this finger is the strongest one. So if I make a fingering and I want to make a natural accentuation, I will use this finger for the accentuation. It's a bit the same with the violin. The bow going down is heavier. So if you make your now we're talking about the right hand or the bow. So it's not only the left hand, of course. And then if you study the articulation and all the bindings on for string instruments, for lute, and then there are 2 types of bindings. There's a musical one and there's a technical one, and sometimes it's really difficult to make the difference. And also there's many mistakes with bindings when you take some scores and it doesn't start at the right place, and sometimes it can really change the meaning of the music. What I am in my perspective is really to understand the music, understand what is going on, and how to execute, and also understand the philosophy and all the things that people had in mind at the time when they were composing music. It's extremely important. And
I'm sure it's also very inspirational, because...
Yeah. Absolutely. Your power to create is multiplied by 10, I believe. There's so many possibilities, and if you take the lute suites, there are many basses, so you are confined to a certain space, and the fingerings, they can be different fingerings, but not so many. Not so many possibilities. But for example, if you get in the partitas solo violin, it's incredible what the possibilities you can have, and you can make a version as good as the violinist. It just will be different. And for example, this lute player also made a version of the violin partitas on the lute, and doing improvisation and ornamentation, and he was recognized as one of the best. And so it was really typical at the period to switch instruments with the same composition. For example,
let me underscore that. So for the performance tradition of the time, it was typical for musicians to switch between the instruments. So there was a sort of cross influence between performing something on a violin, performing something on a harpsichord, performing something on a lute. Yeah, can you elaborate on that a little bit? How does it affect the writing, the composing?
Okay, this prelude I play, the first composition is for cello. Bach, and it's in C minor. Then Bach made it for lute in G minor. I play it in A minor. So, and for the lute, when he made it for the lute, he did the same thing also with the last violin partita. He adds tons of basses, and then the music is more dense than on the violin. So if I play the whole cycle of the violin, when I play the sixth one, the 1006, then I use the lute version because it's more convenient on the guitar. But just to answer your question, Bach would write the same piece for, he would transfer it on other instruments.
And he made adjustments so that the piece intended for violin is specifically bringing out the possibilities of that instrument, and then when he would transfer the same music material to a different instrument, he would again adopt it to allow that instrument to shine. Is that, did I understand that?
Yeah, I understand, but the thing is, the notes for the violin are the same for the lute. It's just added basses.
Well,
because
just
it's possible
pieces,
to,
that's a big difference.
That's a big difference. And you see, for example, I played this violin partita with the chaconne, and there's a real problem because many players they have basses. They do the same as Bach, but it doesn't sound good. And one time I listened to this lute player in Basel, and it was marvelous. So then I stole his basses. So and then I sent him an email and I said, can I take your basses? They're so wonderful. And then he said, it's no problem. Of course, they're not my basses anyway. And then he said, you can just, when you make the CD, write that you were inspired by my version. So this is really fun. Also, it's cooperating together.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I want to study ornamentation. You know about ornamentation in the Baroque. I want to do it for Bach, and also then it's very complicated and it's a matter of taste, and you have to be very careful about what you do. So I have a friend of mine who's probably going to coach me a bit to help me into that, and then I'll go on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's very interesting. Now, this brings us kind of naturally to the next topic, which I was very, very interested to hear you speak on, and that is the impact of the musicological studies and research on the performance practices. Because my understanding is it can go both ways. It can be empowering to musicians, or it can also be overwhelming and kind of boxing people into being afraid of making something wrong. So can you please speak on that?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. It depends which information you take. And for example, maybe I'm like a black sheep because I do not play ancient instruments. Actually, for guitars, there are many different sort of guitars of the Renaissance and the Baroque, and the aesthetics of the instrument is according to the country, the period, the style of the music. So, but this is not what I want to. I would like to play a period guitar. It's in the classical period used by Giuliani, that was a contemporary of Mozart, and sounds like Beethoven. And then in the romantical period, Burgundy and Metz. And so this is the part ancient instrument that I am attracted to, but I'm not the type of person. For Baroque music, I am not interested to play music for Baroque guitar. I much like to play Bach and other things. So that's my choice, and so I'm not really. There's nothing strict, and even people who think they can appropriate to themselves the music and do whatever they want. I have nothing against that. They can do it. My way of doing things is different, and if I would not have studied like I did, I would never have been able to play that piece first at the beginning, like I did. You need to have information it's what is really important is to have the right information, the good books, and it's actually speaking German for me is like a golden mine. because I have many books that are not translated. And yes, and also when talking about performance practice in Germany, like in the 90s, some people, some real good theologians, they started to, they wrote books about harmony, treaty, counterpoint, but you don't study it like the same way as usual. You study it in a historical context, all the development of the chords, and so that's much more difficult. But it gives you incredible power of analyzing the music. Really, what I'm concerned about is understanding the music, the harmony, and what the composer had in their mind, the philosophy, the aesthetics of the period. And then I do what I feel like doing. I don't have any reserve, or I'm feeling very comfortable in that. I don't feel I should become a composer. I think I can create things, and I'm well into that. And,
so you basically educate yourself with as much historic and musical environment information as possible, so you can understand from the perspective of the composer how he himself related to his own musical language, and then that sort of becomes second nature, as a language. Then you don't need to second guess yourself. You can just follow that understanding which you gained by studying how this music was created at the time.
Yes, and then I can do what I feel like, and this I think is really creative. Because you see, when people think that when people I don't know when people started to play back Baroque and classical music exactly. It was somewhere in the a bit before 1900 or something like that. So everybody, what they did is they took that ancient music and they put it in a romantical situation, and so they played everything romantical. Well, I think this is the opposite. Then you are confined into a way of thinking. In a way, maybe they were not the ones having real freedom.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
It does. Yeah, I think so. But that's my way of thinking. I'm not telling people what to do. And my students, though, that's another thing. And also, in the guitar world, we are very aware of this historical practice. So if you go study in Europe, especially Western Europe, that some teachers are really frankly tell you that if you don't use these things, you're never going to make it. Mm-hmm. Because the labels also, they're not stupid, and I mean, all the orchestras, Baroque orchestras and everything, they've been taking so much place over the last decades that even people are not even interested to listen to Bach played by a modern orchestra. The public is, they know what they like, and they have some taste. And,
the public is definitely developing the taste for originality, because it has a distinct sound, which is on its own very, very interesting and engaging and impressive. So this preconception that we are moving forward in our ability to play music better now than in Bach's time, this is nonsense. Of course, great people of historical periods, they were just as good as us, if not better.
Yeah, we can't know, but it doesn't matter. It's really about understanding music. And just there's one subject I like to talk is music aesthetics, because it's very important. It's the philosophy of music. And this really opened doors for me, and not in a direct way, but it's just like you study all of that, and then you start playing in a different way, and it will never happen before. And then the further you go, then you realize that you're way away from the way you used to play before. It's like a sort of osmosis, conscientiousness, awareness of the. Say, if you study music aesthetics. What's very important at the Baroque period is the theory of affects. Theory of affects is like the emotion, sadness, and joy, and all and this goes with Descartes to theory of passions, which is, I'll just have to look, love, hate, envy, to be mad, and all this correspond to the people, to the period, and to the theory of affects. It's really getting in new feelings, and that's what Baroque music is about. So, and then again, it's emotions, and it opens. If you go in the classical period, it's not the same thing. It's different.
Yeah. And there were almost practical and direct connections between key signatures and certain aspects of aesthetics. People were creating the actual communication language and certain articulation groupings and even minuscule elements like motifs. Some of them were assigned particular function in aesthetics, and knowing it, as you write, is giving much more profound understanding of that language, because some of it was almost like writing letters to each other. People were communicating with each other through music in a much more tangible, concrete terms.
Okay, yeah, and also what I wanted to say is dialogue. The language is the most important thing in Baroque music. It's like people are the argument, conflict, persuasion, negation, like people discussing together. This is really a fundamental element of Baroque music. So, like I said before, it's really good to know about these things, because you won't play the music the same after.
It'll be enriched. You'll
exactly.
be enriched with this information. Yeah.
And also, at the period, they had the rhetorical musical figures. So there was 150 of them, and then if I give you some example, high note represent hate, a mountain, sky. A low note is a valley, hell. Sudden silence is death. Chromatic half tone going on is pain, suffering. There were 150 of these, and composers, they learned them, and then
they knew. So if they heard downward chromatic scale, they knew this is steps to hell. So someone put it in there to communicate the subject of that particular part of the piece. Yep. And that is fascinating, because that was an enormous attempt to really create music as a very concrete language. Basically, you could tell the story.
Absolutely.
And
people and interaction, really interaction. So that's and when you play, the job of the performer is to highlight that, and then you hear all kind of things, discussions, and then it's not like the boring normal playing at every note even, and it has nothing to do with that. And so
absolutely, it empowers the ability to communicate through music so much. Yep.
Exactly, and one interpretation can be different from another. It always will be, because there's so many possibilities of expressing oneself, and people who have a different feeling about even if I would play this prelude again, I wouldn't play it the same, because we have a different living. And
Pierre, can you give more examples of those elements which had real clear assigned meaning? I think that's really interesting, very fascinating, and not common knowledge.
You mean that the high note represents hate?
Yes. If you can give more examples.
I don't have. There's a whole list, 150. So
since there is a list, do we have access to the source where people can see the list?
You would have to find on internet, maybe Google books. They must be. I never found it, but it must exist.
Mm-hmm.
And,
if we find, we're going to promise our viewers that we'll put a link or some kind of direction where people can source that from in the description of this program. So anyone interested in this 150, how do we call them? Rudiments?
Rhetorical musical figures. That's what
rhetorical musical figures.
Yeah, about rhetoric language, huh? and so that's basically something happening with the sound, a jump or correspond with a verbal idea.
And a lot of them were
principle.
also connected with the biblical stories and elements and concepts.
You said biblical.
Biblical, yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's right.
And we're going to follow up on that and provide that information. We'll find it somewhere.
I'd like to put an end on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Pierre, before we run out of time, I want to also touch it, at least to some extent, another very important and interesting topic about the new modern guitars and lattice braced and double top, and this is a whole new area for many musicians. Can you please enlighten us a little bit?
Yes. Okay. Greg Smallman, around 30 years ago, started a new concept. The sound table. That's where all the sound comes, and it's thin. But Smallman decided to make it much thinner and to take two tops. And he put in between, he made a sandwich with nomics used to make planes, like a beehive.
Oh, wow.
The structure. So then the guitar had much more volume, but the people at the time really didn't like the sound. And then after, there was another type of guitar invented, it's called the lattice bracing, and which is a very, very thin soundboard. I prefer not to know how thin it is with my guitar because I'm going to become paranoid, and so you start to be scared to touch it, and the light goes through. Okay.
Oh wow! It's that thin.
It's just not even the sun, just the daylight. You look in it, and then there's light.
Is it really that fragile?
Well, not really, but
it appears that way.
Very thin. Actually, it can, the person who made the guitar is really not worried about the string tension. As with some traditional guitars, some people are really worried. The lute maker will tell you, don't use a high strings tension. And I know Philip, it's no problem for him. So in terms of solidity, yes. But in terms of making a hole in the soundboard, then that's what you've got to be scared about. So this latest one is even louder than the other one, and people in Europe started to build these type of guitars. And then one time I tried some with some friends. We really made the ultimate test, like 4 guitarists, 5 guitars. And for a whole afternoon we play excerpts, and so you have an idea of the song when you play it, but you have an idea also of the song when the other ones are playing, and so you can really come to a verdict, sort of verdict. But I wasn't convinced at that time. But then when I listened to a duo playing Philip's guitar, then I made a trip to England. Mm-hmm. For 3 days I tried. And compared with my guitar, and then he made one for me. Mm-hmm. And what happens then is, I was once coached for 1 year by a very famous piano player. I came to see him and I said, I want to know, you will play that music? Because there's some things I really don't like when guitarists play, and I would like to just take another road, a bit different. So, and he really, the way he was teaching me, it was really like steps for dynamics and things like that.
Yeah, the terrace dynamics is
exactly.
And that's very much keyboard approach to developing the Baroque music, like fugue form. Yeah. And
I always tried to do that, but there was a ceiling with the traditional guitar. And now with this guitar, bada boom, there's no more ceiling.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and also when I play normal, it's much easier if the instrument sounds, because the most difficult thing on a string instrument is to play loud. Mm-hmm. Because the pressure and everything, it becomes really, but on that guitar, if I play normal, like before, it's much easier. So really, I believe, as we are athletes on our instrument, I believe I improve 25% more my technique with this new guitar. So I really believe it depends on the people. Some people want to stay traditional, but for me, it's incredible. It's a game changer, total game changer. And then I can play with more dynamics, and I can do more things. I can do and in romantic music and these things, I can really like try to play like not exactly like pianists, but to build dynamics in a different way. And it's like this guitar is halfway between traditional and a piano.
Oh wow, that's incredible. Let's say the name of this type of a guitar and the name of the maker, so people who are watching the program can take notes.
Philip Woodfield Moore. I can show you the instrument, but I won't play it today.
Yes, please just show it to us, because
One second.
yeah, let's give Pierre a moment to get the guitar out, and yeah, here it comes. Okay.
This is the.
So this is a new instrument, and how long has it been, available? How many years since they started making them?
I guess it was following probably 10 years or something.
So it's a fairly new invention.
Well, the latest was later, after the double top. And somebody like Philip must have started like 10 years going. It took a long time before people started to switch. And especially in Europe, sometimes they're very conservative. And it was really Anglophone thing about these double tops. Like people in the States doing it in Canada. Europe was slower to get in. But now that they are in, especially in England, Germany. And but this guitar, the sounds fantastic. And you cannot see that it is a lattice because it's inside.
Yeah, it does look like a normal guitar,
Absolutely,
but I can understand. Yeah,
yes.
it's hidden below the surface of
inside
the soundboard. Yep.
Inside.
Wonderful. Thank you for letting everyone know, and I'm going to give you just a quick second so you can put your precious guitar back where it'll be safe and won't be, won't potentially fall or something, God forbid. And we'll have Pierre back in just a second. We're coming close to the end of our program. Let's have Pierre back. Yeah, Pierre, we're coming to the end of our program, and I wanted to just take a couple of minutes to introduce the competition, the Sound Espressivo competition, of which Pierre Beaudry is a distinguished judge. And I just want everyone who is watching the program to understand the competition invited and is proud to have some of the most incredible musicians from around the world joining our panel of judges and extending their expertise and their absolute best intentions to help young musicians on all their future and current levels to study and to improve. Sound Espressivo online competition is where musicians are truly supported to present their unique talent, their individuality. It is an opportunity for musicians to engage with the audience and with the world in present-day technical environment, to be reviewed and guided by well-known artists, successful musicians who are the judges and who come to the panel from around the world. Sound Espressivo is bringing the future of the music industry to the artists, educators, and audiences of today. It was founded and managed by professional musicians, and as such, Sound Espressivo competition aims to empower artists of every instrument and all walks of life. Sound Espressivo competition gives an opportunity for the contestants to present themselves to a very supportive panel of established veterans in our field. Immediate live feedback from the judges. No more silence about what and how you did well or maybe not so well. Contestants receive unedited and uncensored comments right after they perform. They can connect with judges, make these live connections which will last your lifetime. Please ask the judges questions. Take away valuable guidance for your growth, your development. No time limit. No repertoire restrictions. Present yourself as an artist on your own terms. Technical support by experienced crews. who will prepare your tech so you look and sound great and don't need to settle on compromising your presentation to fit some technical limitations. There is no more technical limitations. The sound and the presentation can be supportive of your artistry. Prizes which will keep giving more and more opportunities long after the competition is over. Performances, scholarships, coachings, promotional services, and a lot more. And the most important, make connections with fellow artists, with those who are veterans in the field, and those who are at similar stages of development as you are. These are your partners, these are your colleagues, and these are the people which will help you grow, and you'll grow together with them. Check us out. And with this, I want to thank very much Pierre for taking time, for sharing your expertise so generously, and for giving so much insight, not only for guitarists, but for myself. I discovered a lot from talking to you, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure. Really nice. Thank you.
And I want to thank our audience. Thank you for tuning in, for watching this program. I hope you took away something valuable today. And I want to also thank very much our team of producers. These are professional musicians who are also directors of the show, AV engineers, and broadcast designers. And today, our show director, Ante Božić-Kudrić, by his magic hands, you were able to hear us so clearly and enjoy the music and visuals today. I also would like to thank one of our wonderful sponsors, a music platform created by musicians, which is sponsoring 5 prizes for the competition. And those are to help you promote your music, to help you reach further and find your audience. And we'll see a quick message from the founder of Fan for Me platform.
It's time. It's time for artists to get bigger and to play bigger. It's time to take control of your individual businesses and raise the bar with exclusive content and financial freedom. With Fan for Me, we have made more ways and features for you to make money than any other platform in the world. All creators will earn 80% of all revenue, and it is time to start thinking in the 6-figure or the 7-figure mark. The tools are all here. Welcome to fanforme.com, and welcome to the biggest stage on earth.
This is a wonderful message from Clive, who is a musician and a dancer and artist, and who created this fantastic platform for all of us. So we're very happy for that collaboration. And we also want to thank History of Music Facebook channel for supporting our programming and helping us reach more audience and invite more people to be together with us on this journey as musicians are coming closer and making more connection with everyone else. And with this, I would like to again thank Pierre.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and we'll see you back joining us and judging the actual semifinals of the competition very soon, in about a month, December 16th through 19th. Please stay tuned for more programming for us. And with that, we say goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
No matter where you are or who you are, music connects us all. We started with a dream, but now we are paving the future. Welcome to the Sound Espressivo Global Competition. Fully virtual, yet bringing musicians closer together than ever before, now on a global scale. True live, inclusivity, diversity, connection, community, an extraordinary array of judges. Get noticed by companies all over the world. Prizes, scholarships, performance opportunities. Apply to be a part of the most exciting congregation of artists like nothing you've ever seen before. We guarantee quality and leave no musician behind. We can't wait to hear you on the virtual stage.